Get a high five if there's some by you. Some of you at parties, some of you here locally. Nice to see you. Grab a seat, feeling great. Wow. Thank you for that amazing introduction, Scott. This is a rather unique time for us to get together, isn't it? We're in this giant room with a big echo, but we have 150 countries of souls of the Jeunesse family all connected together here. That's a really beautiful thing. Give it up for everybody around the world who's playing here. So it's a pleasure to be with you, and I really feel like it's a unique and important time for us to get together, because how are you? It's kind of a funny question to ask these days, isn't it? So many things that none of us ever dreamed of or expected. From 2/3 of the planet being shut up in their house, to coronavirus, to some parts of the country in the United States having some race issues, all happening at one time. This is all winter, or crisis. All my friends from China out there understand crisis, a little symbol, what does it mean? Danger and opportunity. So I really believe that this is one of the best opportunities you could possibly have for your business. No one has told me to say that to you. I don't need to do any speeches. In fact, I only do about a half dozen talks for other companies. I do all my own things, and I kind of cherry pick the ones I'm interested in, and my wife uses your products. So she's a big... Specifically, your Reserve product is the one that she's most excited about and really enjoys. So I love the quality of your products, but more importantly, you know, this company is started by a family and still run by a family. And so your company is run very differently. And I have a lot of values in common with you, so I feel privileged to be with you, and I really want to serve you today in this short time we have together. I'm impressed by what you're doing, not only in your business as a whole and the fast and amazing growth you've done here, but I'm also just impressed by the culture you've created, because culture is what makes something last. And culture is kind of a fancy word for the values a company has. And I look for culture not by what people say, but the direction their feet move consistently. Your lips can move any direction. And if you want to know who I am, it's easy. You can look for 34 years, 43 years that I've been doing this. And I look at you guys as well, and I see what you're doing with the Jeunesse with children and so forth. And I'm just really excited about what the possibilities are, because right now in this time where it's so freaking scary, when there's so much uncertainty, is when the greatest opportunity is, because most of the people in the world right now are going to be looking for a new income. They're going to be looking for a way to take back control of their life. And the beautiful thing about what you've got is it can be done even if people are at home, thanks to technology today. In fact, people are at home trying to figure out what the heck to do all over the world. And so if you can find within yourself the internal strength, the capacity to stay in a great mental, emotional state and take the kind of action consistently, you can clean up, because everybody else is scared, and when people are scared, they do nothing. It means you really don't have competitors if you step up, if you do what other people don't do, if you get focused on adding value. I'm here today not because my life was so easy. I'm sure many of you have had a pretty tough life. Early in my life was pretty crushing, pretty rough. I grew up in a really tough environment, lots of physical and psychological and violence. It was pretty rough. And I had 4 different fathers, and when I met my 4th father, I said, "Mom, I'm confused." Which one is it? You know? But as I began to realize, it made me really understand what makes people do what they do. Like, why are some people so darn mean? You know, I remember I'd go to high school, and I was not the most popular kid in school by any stretch of the imagination, but I loved people. And so I couldn't understand how, like, the most popular kid in school was, like, treated me and my friends like dirt. And it made me want to understand what makes people be the way they are. We had no money for food, and we had to try and beg for food. That was a pretty humiliating experience, painful experience. But what I learned is your worst days of life can become your best days if you use them, and don't let them use you. Because all that poverty and pain and all that made me suffer, and I could have just stayed suffering, but instead there's a part of me that said, if I suffered this, I don't want anybody else to suffer. So I'm here today because of self-education. The very thing I know all of you are doing. And the reason I wanted to serve you is I feel like we're brothers and sisters on the paths. We're in different countries. We come in different sizes and shapes and colors and backgrounds. But what we have in common is all of you here want to take control of your own destiny. Who's with me on this? Say, "I." And if you take control of your own destiny, you're one of those people that's not waiting for someone else to tell you what to do. But it gets scary when you think you know what to do and then all of a sudden the whole world changes. But that same part of you, that hunger, that drive, that's the piece that will make anybody successful. I'm asked all the time by people, Tony, you work with some of the greatest achievers in the history of sports, entertainment, multi-billionaires that started with nothing. What do they have in common? What is that secret to success? And I'd say to you, intelligence is an invaluable tool. I love wickedly smart people. But how many of you know some really smart people that can't fight their way out of a paper bag, meaning they're not successful even though they have plenty of intelligence, right? So intelligence is great, but what I found the one ingredient, and I bet you have it because I know some of you I'm talking to is a good afternoon, some of you it's good morning, some of you it's in the middle of the night because you're all over the earth. But for you to be here, you have that ingredient, and it's called hunger. Hunger is the single most important ingredient to success in life. And when you have it, you will find that drive, even when you're scared, even when people are rejecting you, even when it looks like it's impossible, even when the government shuts things down. If there's enough hunger inside you, you will find the way. Who knows what I'm talking about here? Say I. So if you and I are going to have that hunger grow, that hunger has to be about something more than just ourselves. If you look around, I was talking to a friend of mine yesterday. He's the only person in the world who has started 6 companies from scratch and exited them over $1 billion each. And it's not Elon Musk. He's only done that with 2 companies, right? He is the most successful in his word. His name is Bill Gross. Some of you don't even know his name. He's a very humble guy. But Google exists because of him. He created AdWords. And he was telling me the story of how he was involved with this company, and he was so hungry to serve people. He wanted people to use the web in a way that was intelligent, could find what they wanted. And he told me the story. I won't bore you with the whole details, but 2 companies were competing, and he could have bought Google for $200 million, and his company was worth $4 billion. He couldn't convince his associates to do it because they were making so much money, and Google's making nothing. In the end, he had a chance then to be 50-50 with Google when it grew. Google had no income, but it had a really good search engine. He had a way to make money with it, the bidding process that you do when you buy Google Ads. That was what he created. Bottom line is, Google became a $1 trillion company, and that company got sold for about $3 billion. Sounds like a nice deal, but it's completely different. And let me tell you the difference. He said to me straight away, I was the only person on the team that wanted to change the world. Everybody else just wanted to make money and only make money. There's nothing wrong with making money because business is a spiritual game. What is all spirituality, regardless of religion, about? It's about serving something more than yourself. It's the same thing that makes us human, what makes us humane. Most of us, how many of you do way more for your children than you would for yourself, honestly, right? That's the beauty of humanity. If we wake up in our heart and we have a mission greater than ourselves, we'll push through the objections and challenges. But if it's just for you to make money, it's not going to happen. And he said all the other people there, the chairman of American Express, they were all money driven. And he said, so we made money because that's what we focused on. But they changed the world and made $1 trillion too. So I don't separate them. And I'm the product of this self-education process. And Scott, thank you for your great compliments. After that introduction, I'm like, who's going to get on the stage? Like God's got to walk out here or something, right? Scott was very kind. And Scott, I really admire what you built here. I know it's your family's work, but I know it's yours is too. I know you started in operations and built your way through it. I really respect you for that. But we're products of self-education. That means my original teacher was a man named Jim Rohn. And I went to hear him when I was 17 years old. And he said some very fundamental things, but they changed my life. Because how many ideas do you need to change your whole business, your life? How many? One that you actually use, right? That you apply instead of just learning it intellectually. And I listened to him, and he got up there and he said, for things to change for you, you've got to change. For things to get better for you, it's not the economy, you got to get better. And that made sense to me. It was common sense. But then I thought, my fathers worked so hard. 4 fathers, and we were always broke. You know, I'm fortunate enough now, I feed 100 million people a year in the United States and around the world through my partnership in Feeding America. I committed to feed 1 billion people over 10 years. We're at 700 million now in 6 years. So we're way ahead of schedule. But I didn't do that because I'm such a good person. I did it because I suffered. I don't want anybody else to suffer. But I was able to do it because I educated myself and became more valuable. And here's what Jim Rohn taught me, and I hope you'll just take a note for a second. If you're wondering why someone else is doing better than you financially, and you think, I've got better skills, or I got better talents, or you guys have a better product, but you're not doing better than somebody else, it's because it's not the product, the service, it's not the economy, it's you. And I asked Jim Rohn, I said, how come my fathers worked so hard and we had no money for food? It was humiliating, it was painful. And he said, Tony, we're all equal as souls. At a soul level, we're all equal, but we're not equal in the marketplace. He said, if you wanted your father, if he would have understood one principle and applied it, he would never have been financially destitute, any of your fathers. And I leaned in, what is that? He said, well, answer a question for me. Is it possible, and I'm asking all of you as well, is it possible to make twice as much money in the same amount of time? Yes or no? Of course it is. Could you make 4 times as much money in the same amount of time? Is that possible? Could you make 10 times as much money in the same amount of time? Yes or no, everybody? And by the way, if you're at home, give me a yell back, raise your hand, use your body, because if you sit passively, and I'm watching you, at least the ones I can see, thank you for your energy, because if you sit passively while you learn, the problem with that is you could be sitting here going, this is important, this is interesting, this is useful. But then later on, your brain's gonna go, yes, I should probably do this. There's no energy in it. So I'm gonna ask you, use your body, maybe even exaggerate, especially if you're at home. So everybody right now, just make some energy just for a second here, make some great energy. Come on, make some noise. That's it. That's good. Keep that energy. Don't drop it down now. Good job. I can see you guys at home. Great job. So listen, if you could make 10 times as much money, could you make 100 times as much money in the same amount of time? Yes or no? I'm telling you, yes. I started with absolutely nothing, couldn't feed myself. Now I get to feed 100 million people a year. I started out trying to figure out how we could have enough water, and now I provide 250,000 people water every day in India. I'm gonna get it to 1 million people shortly. I saw people, a friend of my family's got abducted. Now I've saved 25,000 women and children from sexual slavery. I did all that because I learned this one principle. And the principle he said was this: the reason you can make 10 times or 100 times more money in the same time is you become more valuable. You have to become more valuable. You have to learn the secret to wealth, real wealth, not rich. Anybody can get rich. Staying rich is called wealth. If you're gonna be wealthy, not just make some money, you have to learn to do more for others than anybody else in your marketplace. There's the only solution: add more value. And I'm obsessed with it. And Scott knows that because he knows my work. And what that means is it's never enough. I want to do more for them. And you know what's interesting? Many times we think we got to do is provide a new product or service, but sometimes what people really need is love or respect or an opportunity or someone to actually take time and connect and care with them personally. Those little intangible things are invaluable, and we rush by them because we're doing all these things we're trying to do to be successful. Nothing you're gonna do is gonna be more important than who you are. And who you are as a caring soul, who you are as a mission beyond yourself. And so for me, it blows my mind that I've come from such unbelievably painful background to now, we do over $6 billion in business. I have 54 companies around the world, from AI to the top resort in Fiji to the LAFC football club, soccer club here. I mean, this just goes on and on. But it's all been just me taking those baby steps. So I tell you this not to impress you. I tell it to impress your soul, your spirit, that says it doesn't matter where you start. If you become obsessed with constantly improving who you are, your skill, your ability, your emotion, your spirit, your mindset, everything, and you find something you want to serve that's more important than just yourself, and you persist, because that's the most important one. You persist through all the times where it seems impossible or difficult, or people reject you, or people stab you in the back, or someone comes and tries to steal your downline, and all the things that you and I both know happen in every form of business, including network marketing, right? You guys are giggling, I know, because it's true. So, but if you can persist through all that, the goal, the impact of what you'll get is huge. But here's the biggest mistake. I see you there, add more value. The biggest mistake is most of us, quite frankly, overestimate. I'll just talk about myself. I used to overestimate what I could do in a year and underestimate what I could do in a decade. And I'm here to tell you, 10 years from now, we'll go like this. How many of you feel like time is going faster now than any other time in your life, right? And as you get older, you'll discover it feels even faster. It's kind of like seeing one of those hourglasses and you flip it over and you start out, it looks like it's going really slow, and when there's little sand left, it looks like it's really going faster. It's no faster, it just feels that way, right? But if we're gonna value our life and our time in a new way, you gotta decide, 10 years from now, I'm gonna arrive someplace. The question is where? Who am I going to become? How am I going to live? Where am I going to go? And if you're only looking for the next month or 6 months or year and you haven't committed to say, I'm going to master something, I'm going to master a skill, I'm going to master this business. If you dabble in it, which most people in network marketing do, quite frankly, and there's nothing wrong with that. Like you can use these products and be a customer. You could use these products and make a small little income on the side, sharing with people, right? You could build a downline. You could become a sapphire, a diamond, a double diamond. You can build whatever you really want, but it takes time. And we live in a world today where everybody expects it to happen right now, and if it doesn't happen now, run to the next thing. And it happens in network marketing all the time. What's the next big deal? What's the next big opportunity? What's the next big product? That will guarantee failure. Failure because you never planted your feet and committed. So it sounds like if you're here, if you're new, maybe you're still checking it out, but if you're here, and I know the people in this room, they know the rewards that come from adding value to a mass number of people. The more people you add value to, the more you earn. It's that simple. There's nothing more simple than that in the world, and that's true for every business on earth. But in your business, you got to be in business for yourself, but as they say, not by yourself. Someone else is developing the products and doing the accounting side and making all the other things happen so you can just focus on learning, growing, and giving. And if you do those three things, you learn what the products are and you utilize them and you grow and you expand and you give opportunity, there's zero limit. How many get what I'm saying here? Say aye. So, if you and I are going to go to the next level, today, what I'd like to do is walk you through some simple tools. Some simple tools. I try to make them as simple as possible. When I began my career, I think I made everything more complex because I think I was trying to prove to myself how smart I was. But you know what I've learned? Complexity is the enemy of execution. The more complex, jot it down if you would, complexity is the enemy of execution. The more complex you make it, less likely anybody's going to follow through. The simpler you make it, the more likely. And our egos want to make things complex. But your spirit's looking for what's pure and simple so it can act on it. And so if you're going to duplicate anything in a business, the more complexity, the harder it is. The more lack of complexity, simplicity is power. And so for me, I'm going to try and take what I think is really common sense. But that's what I'm going to share today. As far as I'm concerned, it's common sense. But if you ever notice, common sense is not too common, right? So what we're going to do is look at those fundamentals together. Now, to start with, let's just start with what is the number one ingredient to success above else. I said hunger, but hunger is reflected. When you're really hungry, when there's a passion in you, how many of you can remember when you got really excited about something, product, service, something in your life? What's the first thing you want to do when something great happens in your life? You want to what? Share it with somebody who you really care about, right? Well, now you're in a business where it has that happen. But that hunger will increase with energy. Energy, I want to start with the most simple thing because it's the one everybody seems to pass up. And today, it's more important than ever in history. Energy is the number one source of success. If you said to me, Tony, what is it you see? There's hunger, but the hunger is reflected in this level of energy. High energy produces high results. I don't care who you are. If you persist with high energy, you're going to find the answer. If you persist with high energy, you're going to attract people to you. But I don't care how smart you are. You can have the most brilliant thing in the world to share with somebody, but if it's not alive in you, if you're not feeling enough energy, if it has nothing to do with your product or service, you're just tired, you're exhausted, you're burnt out, you've been through some rejection, and you let that take your energy down. And you go, this is the greatest opportunity in the world. You will really love this thing. It's just amazing. Join our family. And people like read between the lines, right? It's a different experience, right? Energy is everything. Now, I'm not just saying energy without skill or ability. I'm talking about energy that comes from belief. Energy that comes from that place of knowing what really can be achieved, what really can be shifted, and by your ability to live it, not just talk about it, because that's what people are really going to look for. So I want to start, before we do anything else, with that energy, because some of you are at home, and I know that some of you are in the middle of the night. I just did an event of my own this way for 4 days and nights. We had 138 countries, and I get to see everybody on these big screens. And I was watching the sun go down in some places and up in others. You know, our Australian friends, we started 10 in the morning, and for them it was midnight already. So they went from midnight to 2 p.m. the next day without a break. So I understand what it's like. So wherever you are in the world, let's do a little simple energy exercise. But before we do, let me ask you a question. How important, for those I can see and those in this room, on a 0 to 10 scale, how important do you think, not what I think, energy is to success in anything, in relationship, in your business, in your health, as a parent, as an influencer? 0 to 10, 10 is the most important thing, 0 is dead. Where would you give it? Yell it out to me. What was it? If you're on screen, show me what the number is. What would you say the number is? How many think it's at least an 8? Let me see your hands. At least an 8. How many think it's a 9? How many think it's a 10? I think if there's no question it's a 10. You can have everything else, but not the energy. It's not going to be there. Now think about it this way. Let's use a different context than business first. Who do you want to be in business, though, just for a second? You want to be around somebody who's like, there's a real big problem. They go, oh, what do you think? What should we do? Or do you want someone who's got a genius who goes, move, I'll handle it. Like, you can feel that energy. You can feel that certainty, right? In an intimate relationship, what really determines the quality of an intimate relationship is something most of us don't think about: energy. Think about this. If you're in a relationship with somebody and you both are super high energy, you're loving your life outside of each other, you're really passionate, you feel like you're engaged, enjoying life. On a 0 to 10, you're living life 9 and 10 of energy. And you both are in this peak state. What kind of relationship are these two people going to have who are both in a peak energy state all the time? Good, okay, terrible, exciting? What do you think, guys? It's going to be extraordinary. You know that. But watch this. What if these two people, by the way, same two people, and they totally love each other, no BS, they adore each other. But because of life situations, their energy drops considerably to a place not outstanding, amazing, to a place called good. Like pretty good, okay, better than dead. And both these people are feeling okay, good, pretty good. Is it going to affect the quality of the relationship? Yes or no? Come on, yes or no? You know damn well it's going to. Is it going to be the same quality relationship as the first one or less? Which one? Sizably less. Here's the danger zone. You ever get caught in this place? You're exhausted, you're beat up, you haven't slept, you haven't eaten, you've been through stress, one of your kids is sick, maybe mother-in-law, somebody has got cancer, for God's sakes. The whole world is being torn apart. And you let your energy get down really low down here where it really is super low energy, terrible. And you're both in that place. Is it going to affect the relationship, yes or no? Massively. In fact, in that state, people say things they don't really mean, but their partners rarely forget it. They do things that later on they wish they hadn't done. That's called the danger zone. Now, some people, one person's feeling really great, high, they finally get in a good place, they come home, the other person's in a lousy place, and now they're mad at him. Why won't you get up here with me? Right? Who knows what I'm talking about here? So the ability, your personal emotional level of energy, what I would call your peak state, your energy level affects your relationship more than anything else, because in the beginning of the relationship, what was it like? Did you walk up to the person and go, oh, how you doing? How are you? No, there was an energy in your face, in your eyes, right? You looked at that person, they felt you, they were connected, it was incredible. But now it's like, morning, morning. They go, whatever happened to our passion? It's because your energy, it's a habit, because most of us, we become like who we spend time with. And most of us spend time with people who are like most people in the world. They've let their energy drop. Most people spend most of their time talking about how they have no time and how stressed they are. How many hear this conversation? How many do this sometimes yourself? Raise your hand. You complain about no time, so much stress, that type of stuff. It's like the new thing. Stress is a saber-toothed tiger coming after your ass. That's stress. Right? What we call stress, oh, I had a really rough day. Really, what happened? I had to talk to people. Yes, I texted and I called and I spoke to people in meetings. It was so exhausting, right? We forget what it's like to have to exert energy, because most of us here don't really understand it. Now, you guys are the exception because you're in the health business. That's part of your business anyway, right? You understand how important energy is, but you are the product. And no matter what product you take, you and I both know those all help, but the psychological product is the most important one of all. I'll tell you, in my life, I've found that 80% of success is psychology, 20% is mechanics. In other words, that's why you can be brand new in Jeunesse and take off. How many have seen somebody brand new come on board and just crush it with almost no training, right? Let me see your hands. Who's seen this? I see a lot of diamonds here. They know, right? How many have ever then seen somebody train them and all of a sudden their sales go down, right? Because sometimes they lose their energy trying to think about what to do versus just sharing their just pure enthusiasm and truth and what they're really feeling, what they're experiencing, right? So that energy, as basic as that is, it's like, oh, let's talk about something more sophisticated. I'd love to, but without the energy, it's a waste of time. Energy is the spark that makes everything else work. And here's the question then. How many believe energy is the most important, or at least one of the most important things to success? Say aye. Then answer this question for me. Where does energy come from? Where does it come from? Write it on a piece of paper and show it to me on the screen, or you guys just tell me, where does energy come from? Where does it come from? Food? No, not food. Let me see what we got there. Me, I see some messages there, me. So food, let's just use food for example, because I hear people say this all the time. Heart, very nice. Oh, you. Things like food. People say to me, oh, I'm exhausted, got no food. How many of you can remember a special holiday dinner that you went to with the family? Like, I don't know what it is in your country. In America, we have this thing called Thanksgiving or maybe Christmas, right? And when you get to Thanksgiving, Christmas, and you go have this big meal usually, right? Large meal. And how much do you eat? How much do you eat, guys? Come on, how much? Till you can't move, you eat, right? At least in America, that's what they do. They go till they can barely move, and they go, oh, I'll never eat again. Somebody goes, pumpkin pie? Okay. So what happens to us is, how do you feel after that big meal? Do you feel like going out and crushing it in your business? No, what do you feel like? Come on. You feel like going to sleep for a little nap or watching the boob tube TV or something, right? So food is not the answer. Come on, what's the source of energy? If it's so important, we got to know where to get it. Sleep? No, it's not sleep. Who's ever been totally exhausted and then boom, something happened, you're awake for hours? Who knows what I'm talking about here, right? So it's not that. What is it? I'm hearing many of you say it's for me. You're right. What it is it's a habit. Energy is a habit. And that energy comes from the way you move, the way you breathe, the way you speak. And if you develop the right habits, that energy will be with you even when you're exhausted. Listen, last year, most years, this has been different this year, most years I do usually about 106 cities, 16 countries, some of them 2 or 3 times, right? So about every 2 or 3 days, I'm somewhere in the world with 10, 15,000 people, rocking it, taking it to the next level, because it's my mission. But that can be pretty exhausting. How am I doing it? I'm doing it because it's so fulfilling. There's a psychological component, but there are many days when I wake up and my back's hurting. I went through mercury poisoning I got from my diet years ago from fish. And it was like I was throwing up, burned a hole in my esophagus. I lost 1/3 of my blood supply. It was a pretty rough situation. And so for the last 2 years, I've been detoxing that mercury out of my body. I'm be backstage and there's 15,000 people in a stadium and I'm throwing up and they're going for the last song and they're calling my name. And I got to figure out how to get up there and deliver. So I've learned how to produce that energy. And what I want you to know is it starts with the way you move and breathe and then your psychology. The combination, if you're not feeling it, you can change your body and do it. In fact, let's do something really simple. All of you at home and everybody here, would you stand up just for a moment? Shake your body out. Get some energy in your body. Now, while you're still standing, don't sit down that quickly. Shake your body out, shake it out. And so I want you to realize it's not how you feel. You know, I have people all the time say, well, I can't just do it. It just doesn't feel right for me. I don't give a damn if it feels right for you. Do it. You do it enough times and it'll feel right. People want to feel strong enough to do something. You got to do something enough times, you'll feel strong. I start every morning of my life jolting my nervous system into a peak state. Every morning, and I'm fortunate enough to have many homes around the world, I have these cold plunges, 56 degrees. At my home in Sun Valley, Idaho, I have the river, which is usually about 39 degrees in the winter. I walk through the snow, and I jump in the river, or I jump in my cold plunge every morning. Now, there's never been a morning where I was like, I can't wait to freeze my ass off. I can't remember a morning like that. Not one. But here's what I've done. I've trained myself. I don't walk up to that cold plunge and go, okay, let me wait a minute, let me get ready. I've trained myself, when I say go, we go. In other words, I've done it so many times that there's no hesitancy. I don't negotiate with myself. Many of you have the habit, it's part of being human, of kind of negotiating, well, when I feel right. No, you do it enough times and you'll feel right. If you're waiting to feel right, it's never gonna happen. If that's your criteria for success, you're gonna fail. You got to make yourself uncomfortable so often that uncomfortable is not uncomfortable. It feels good. It feels like strength. It feels like discipline. It feels like I make myself do anything. So I use the water as that metaphor. It's a simple thing. But the other way you can do it is just your body. So I want you to try something. Let's throw up on the screen the people at home so we can all see them, and all of you in this room. And let's do this. I want you, if you're with other people, stand up. I see there Team Malaysia. How you guys doing out there? Good to see you. Yeah, that's it. Couple Team Malaysias back there. Thailand Superfan. Marta Merlo. Bruno Rodriguez, you guys on your feet if you will, please. Whoa. So here, stay standing, shake it out. And here's what we're gonna do. For 30 seconds, if you're in a room with somebody, I want you to point at somebody and go, I own you. All right, I own you. And then the other person goes, no, I own you. Now, when you say I own you, let me explain. How many of you are competitive human beings? How many competitive people out there? Oh, good, I'm in the right room, right? Around the world. The word competition, in its original Latin root, to compete means to conspire together. So if Scott and Scott's a great athlete, right? And I'm a good athlete, and we're gonna go at it. I'm gonna push Scott as hard as I can. I know he's gonna push me as hard as he can. And by pushing each other as hard as we can, by competing, we make each other better. How many follow what I'm talking about? So we're gonna do that here, even with you at home. So if you've got other people with you at a party, I want you to point at somebody and go, I own you. If you're by yourself, point at somebody in the screen and go, I own you. Go ahead, try it right now. Point at somebody and go, I own you. No, say it again like you mean it. I own you. No, I own you. And when you say I own you, what that means is, I own you means I challenge you, you low energy person. I'm gonna outdo your energy. So I want you to face that partner, and if you're by yourself, face the screen, get up on your feet, and when I say now for 30 seconds, I want you to out-celebrate your partner. As if you're a little kid, you just made it to double diamond, triple diamond, you just had whatever it is you really want to achieve in life, and you're celebrating like a little kid. Outdo their energy. Ready? 1, 2, 3, go! Make some noise while you're doing this. Come on now! Alfred! Make some noise! One more time, make a really loud sound and enjoy it. High five your partner or virtually high five people. Say you rock and grab a seat, feeling great. Grab a seat, feeling great. Now when you sit down, create the same energy as if you were standing in your chair. Wake it up. Nice job, Steffi. Angela Wayne in LA. Samara Christian. Catherine Steffi. MJ Singapore team. Ayumi Ashayo. Make some noise. Ontario, Canada, Dennis Chow. Acid shake the building. Now, if that feels better than before, make a fist and say yes. Say yes. Say yes. Do you feel better? Now, don't let yourself drop back on. I'm so glad that's over. Get back to the seminar. Keep the energy strong in your chair. Come on, keep it in your body strong. Keep it going. So, energy matters, doesn't it? How many can feel it right now in your body? If you went to talk to somebody in this moment, would you be more effective or less effective? Which one? Be honest. No question more effective. So all you have to do, I call it physiology first. I'll explain in a little bit. But if you use your body first, instead of your mind, you'll get there quicker. Don't try to go, okay, I'll get my energy going. I'm really tired and shit, but all right, yeah. That's not gonna do it. You gotta push yourself. You gotta do something you would never do with intensity in your body and your voice. Try just your voice for a moment. Make the sound, wherever you are, even if you're alone in a room, make the sound of total excitement. Go ahead, make the sound of it. Do it again and enjoy it. Total excitement, go. One more time, make it strong, go. Now, does that feel better in your body, yes or no? So we have habits of lowering our energy, and we don't even know it. And yet, who do you pay a fortune to go see? Somebody who's a rock star. What do they bring? Energy. A great play, energy, right? They show up, you can feel it. And they're no different than you. The reason you want to see them is there's a part of you who knows that's in you. Otherwise, you wouldn't be attracted to it. But it's just a habit. And so using your body to produce that energy first, you go, oh, what do I do when I'm feeling so afraid of being rejected? You get out of this state and you get into a different state and your mind will work completely differently and so will your body. So I'm gonna show you multiple ways to do it. We're starting with the most basic, simple things, but the basic ones change our lives. Now, by the way, this only works if you manage it. You can't lead, you can't manage something if you don't measure it. True? If you don't measure your business, you have a problem. When I have 54 companies, actually I have 74 now, I don't know why I keep saying 54, but I've added more. So I got 74 companies. They're in every industry you can imagine. And I'm gonna show you today the things I've done to take on companies I bought or invested in or started from scratch and how I've grown them all. I'm gonna teach you 3-step principle that I've used for every company. Not yet, a little bit. But first, without the energy, it wouldn't matter. It wouldn't matter at all. So how do we make it work to another level? Is we gotta learn how to make sure we measure. So I'll take some of those companies, I'll measure some things, once a month when I take them over. Other things I'll measure once a week. Some things I'll measure multiple times a day. The more you measure, the better it'll get. So the first thing you gotta measure is your own energy. And most of us don't. We don't become aware of it. It's not a bad thing, it's just we kind of mold the environment we're in. We don't wanna, seem obtrusive or overly energetic or crazy or we're hired anyway, right? So it's like who you spend time with is so important, but it's also making sure you put yourself in that state by measuring. So 0 to 10. 10 is unstoppable energy. 0 is dead. Where were you before we started this morning, if you're honest? Show me on the screen, where were you energetically before we began? Put your hands up, show me the number, write on a piece of paper. Those in this room can tell me, where were you? How many of you, let me just ask this way, how many of you were, before we started this morning, were at a 6 or below? 6 or below. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So about 70% of the room, and these are the super leaders here. And as I look out in the room there, I see most of you. How many were at a 7 this morning? How many were at 8? How many were at 9? How many were at 10? And by the way, watching you on the screen, right, and even in this room, you could hear the 10s made sounds, 9s and 10s. There were no sounds at 5, 6, and 7. No one said anything about making sounds or not. It just happened spontaneously. So now I have a question for you. It's a very important question. Would you ever date a 6? Would you want to do business with a 6? Do you want to recruit a 6? Do you want 6 as a leader? Is that what you're looking for? Yes or no? Yes or no? Hell no. And you know what? It's not you're a 6. It's just we get caught up in the habit and don't even realize it, right? And we're exhausted. But listen to me. You can be playing in this level at 9 and 10, and if you're 9 and 10, you did nothing else But learn to keep yourself at 9 and 10. Everything in your life would change. Your passion in your relationship would change. Your ability to parent your kids would, because you have more energy than they do. You'd have the capacity to grow your business. People would be attracted to you. How many buy that? How many think what I'm saying is true here? If you don't, it's okay. How many think it's true? If you do, say aye. So we got to measure, but I'll show you what will make it easier. Understanding why the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. And I'm not just talking about money, because as Scott said earlier, my belief is real wealth is mental, emotional, spiritual, physical, relational, and financial. That's real wealth. In order to have that be great, you have to understand the power of momentum. So if you're jotting some notes down, this is one you want to write down. This is why the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. This is what I call the momentum model. I work with a lot of athletes. I know some of my friends out in China are big basketball fans these days. NBA has really grown, and your own basketball has really grown. I work with some of the greatest players in history. Michael Jordan, to give you an idea, if you know anything about basketball history. You know the Golden State Warriors, Steph Curry and that team. I worked with them. I have 4 NBA championship rings, to give you an idea personally. So I work with some of the greatest athletes on earth. And in every sport, just like every business, just like you starting in this business, or maybe you got momentum initially and then you lost momentum. And it's hard sometimes to start it back up. How many can relate in some way to your life or your business, right? So momentum is everything. In sports, you see it because there's a team that's dominating, and then sometimes there's a spark. Somebody changes their state and goes crazy. They steal the ball, they do something, and all of a sudden the momentum changes, and you feel like now the team that was losing, they have the momentum. And oftentimes, momentum is the difference between success and failure. And in business, the hardest part is the beginning and then sustaining that momentum. And that's why most people don't make it in business. Let's be honest, they just don't. They dabble, they try something, it's uncomfortable, they don't feel like it, they want to wait till they feel good. Remember, I don't care how you feel, just do it. Do it, and you're gonna feel good. Don't feel good to do it. Now, you can change your state and feel better right away. It'll get you to do things. But you gotta understand momentum. So I'm gonna show it to you, because this is what I work with. Every athlete, every multi-billionaire that I've ever worked with who calls me and they got a challenge in their business or a challenge in their personal life, and I want you to jot it down. I want you to draw on the screen here, I'll throw it up here for you, 4 squares. And 4 squares, 2 on top, 2 directly in the bottom. Jot them down if you would. Draw it down for yourself. And then in those 4 squares, I want you to write 4 words. 2 squares on top, 2 below. In the top left square, I want you to write the word potential. In the top right square, I want you to write the word action. Bottom right square, the word results. And then the bottom left square, the word certainty or belief. So it's potential, action, results, certainty, or belief, 4 squares, and then draw arrows between them going clockwise. So it'll show you there is a direct sequence to this, right? It should look like that. So 4 squares, 2 on top, 2 on the bottom, potential, action, results, certainty, or belief, and it's going clockwise. All right? When you got that, look up, signifying the fact you have completed this part of the process. Good. Watching you guys on the screen, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Anastasia and Christian, it looks like, from Toronto, Canada. Nice to see you guys. All right, you guys got it? So now let me ask you a question. Take a look at this with me for a moment. What is the potential of any human being? What's the potential of a human being joining this business? Could anyone in this business, I'm not saying they will, could anyone in this business learn the skills, even if they're not good at first, even if they have no background, even if they have no money but $49, I think it is for a starter kit, isn't it? Right? And they just start like that. Is it possible for that person to grow a business where they could have an income while they're sleeping that's more than they could while they're working? Yes or no? Could they have a great time? Could they make a difference in other people's lives? So what is the potential of any human being? The potential is almost unlimited. I don't know if it's completely unlimited, but most of us, our limited potential is not the potential, it's our psychology. How many follow what I'm talking about here? Say aye. So the potential's amazing. Do most people's results reflect the level of potential they have? Yes or no? No. What people can do is amazing. What people will do is often disappointing. And if you don't realize that by now, get in this business for a few years, you'll learn, right? Because that's how it works. It's not because we can't. It's because the challenge is not a potential challenge. What's the challenge? Why aren't most people succeeding to the level they desire and really want in their life? Why would you say? Yeah, I hear a few say, well, they're not taking enough what? Action. And there's great truth in that. Jot down, massive action is a cure-all. Massive action is a cure-all. It's unbelievable what you can accomplish when you stop trying to do everything perfect and you just do a ton of everything to figure it out. However, this is important, however, if you take massive action, but you don't believe it's gonna work, you're like, oh, I don't think I'm good enough. Let me knock on 100 doors and ask people. You wouldn't wanna buy this shit from me, would you? You don't say that verbally, but your body says it. How many know what I'm talking about here, right? Because you're uncertain. If you do that with 100 people, you still might get lousy results. You'll get some results because someone's gonna feel sorry for you and say, I don't want your kids to starve, I'll buy your shit, right? But the bottom line is, your belief is the single most powerful factor. It creates or destroys your success. It creates or destroys your energy. If you don't believe that it's gonna work, or you partially believe, which means you don't believe, right? Like, I'd like it to work, I hope it works. That's not believing. A belief is a feeling of absolute certainty. If you have absolute certainty, if you ever watched an athlete, like a basketball player, go up to shoot a free throw, and you say, he's gonna miss it. Or a football player, some of you watch football, and they're going for a kick, and before they get up the kick, you know they're gonna miss it, and they do. Who's ever seen this on sports, on television or in person, where you knew the person was gonna fail and they did? Raise your hand if you've done it. How did you know? You could see they were lacking certainty. You could see it in the body, can't you? When somebody's uncertain, they don't execute. Not fully, not completely. So we don't need to work on a potential, my friends. And certainly we can always work on action. But if you want new results, you have to develop a new sense of certainty or belief. Now, sometimes that's hard because you say, Tony, okay, I get it, but I'm brand new. And it's like, I've tried shit, it's not working. And nothing seems to be working. I don't know what to do. In that state of uncertainty where you're focused on it not working, it's gonna keep not working. Because, watch this, if you think you're uncertain, you can tap a lot of potential. Are you gonna take and tap a lot of potential when you don't think it's gonna work? Yes or no? No. And are you gonna take massive action on your potential if you don't think it's likely to work? No, nobody wants to be disappointed. So what do most people do? They pull back and go, I tried. Tried is you went through the motions of action, but you did not use your certainty to tap your potential. You didn't take massive action, and so you got lousy results. Does that make sense? How to build belief, I'll answer that question. Good question, I see you there. So watch this. If I have limited certainty it's not gonna work, I'm gonna take little potential, I'm gonna take little action, and what kind of result am I gonna get? Crappy little results. And then what does that do to your belief when you get little or lousy results? Your brain goes, see, I told you it's not working, I told you it's too tough, I told you I'm not made for it. Now you have less belief, you test less potential, you take even less action because you don't think it's gonna work, you get even worse results. See? I told you, it's the company, it's those people, it's my upline, it's my mother-in-law, it's something, right? And now you believe even less, and now you're on the downward spiral. Who has ever been in this place somewhere in your life where you're on the downward spiral, where things weren't working and it seemed to be getting worse? Who knows what I'm talking about here? That's negative momentum. But watch this. How can we turn this around? I know many of you are saying, well, how do I change my belief? That feels like a tough thing to change because it's in your head. I want to show you a simple thing that every great athlete I've ever worked with, and I've worked with some of the greatest in history, all do. All of them. They understand that to tap that potential action results, I got to have more belief, but if they're not getting the result, where's the belief come from? You've got to get results in advance. You have to see, hear, feel, and know in your body over and over again the result you want until your brain believes it, and when it does, everything changes. But it's like, I'll believe it when I see it. People say that? No, when you believe it, you'll see it. I'll see it when you believe it. People confuse those two. I want to show you what I mean. Stand up just for a moment. Everybody at home, please stand up. Let's do a little exercise together. It's real simple. Put your notebook down if you would, stand up. And I'd like you to just try something really simple with me, okay? I want you to put your feet together, touching straight ahead, okay? And then I want you to bring your right index finger straight in front of you like this. Now keep your feet together. Don't move your feet. They're gonna stay straight. And when I say now, you're gonna turn comfortably slowly and just notice where you naturally stop, okay? Go. Keep your feet straight. Notice where you stop. Okay, come back around. Take your finger out of your neighbor's ear. Drop your finger, and in a moment, I'm gonna ask you to close your eyes. I'll show you. I want you to imagine the finger comes up. Don't actually do it, but in your mind, imagine it coming up, and you're gonna turn twice as far without your feet turning. So close your eyes, and just imagine it going twice as far. And it's effortless. Don't actually do it, but in your mind do it where it feels like your hand came up and it just went 3 times as far. And then drop the hand in your mind, and then do it again and go 4 times as far. Finger comes up in your mind. Don't actually do it, just in your mind. And see and feel yourself turning even further. And every time you do it, feel like you're a little kid. Like, you know when you're a little kid and you go, measure me, Mom, measure me, Dad, I'm taller. And they go, I measured you last week. I think I'm taller. Right? Now do it one more time in your mind where your feet stay straight and you go all the way around like an owl. You go clockwise until you end all the way in the front and your feet are still straight. And it feels fun. You like to go further every time. Further and further, easier and easier. Okay? Now open your eyes, keep your feet together. Bring your finger in front of you. Now turn as far as you can comfortably and see how far you go this time. Ooh, where'd those moans come from? How many went sizably further this time? Raise your hand if you went sizably further. How many of you went at least 25% further this time? Raise your hand. Okay, grab a seat and answer this question for me if you would. Grab a seat, thank you. As you sit down, answer this question. As we look at this graphic up on the screen again, tell me, did you have the potential to turn as far as you did the second time, the first time? Could you have gone further the first time? Yes or no? Why didn't you? Because even though you're not aware of it, you have beliefs about how far you can even turn. They're subconscious. So how do we change your belief? We didn't work on the belief. We got your brain to imagine the result vividly just a few times where it got better and better, and your brain went, oh, I know this. And it went 25% further. That is the game of your business. That is the game of your relationship. That is the game of your life. Without a vision, people perish. It says in a very good book called The Good Book, right? And every religion on earth and every philosophy of earth has something related to this. So for us to get further, we've got to not only have a vision, but we've got to make it real. And so that's hard, I know, in the beginning. No, it's not. It's easy because you haven't done much yet to screw it up, right? And if you have done something to screw it up, you want to turn it around, you got to return to that vision of what's going to excite you. And you got to see and feel the result over and over again, because watch what happens. What changed? All we did was by getting you to imagine the result. Now remember this. The human mind, the brain, does not know the difference between something you vividly imagine and something you actually experience. So when you vividly imagine it, you felt more certain. So you tapped more potential. So you took more action. So you got a better result. And by the way, now that you got a better result, your brain goes, see, I told you I'm a stud or studette. I told you I could make this happen. I told you I was made for this business. I told you I can turn further. By the way, how many feel like you could go further if we did this again? You find a way to go even further the next time. Yes, because you get momentum. Because now your brain goes, I got the result. Oh, I can do even more. I can tap more potential, take more action. And this is how you become diamond or double or triple. This is how you get the life that you deserve. Because all the people I'm getting to see in this room, there's just 42 of them and some beautiful cutouts, right? All these people in this room have done it. They're not here. They didn't buy a ticket. They got here because they produced results. So we got to honor all of them. And they're all here as role models for you. That doesn't mean they're perfect. None of us are perfect. I'm not perfect, right? Scott might be perfect, but the rest of us aren't. Right? The bottom line is, we all have to create momentum. And this is why the rich get rich and the poor get poor. Do you ever notice how happy people tend to get more happy? And depressed people get more depressed? Do you ever notice how angry people get more angry? And grateful people get more grateful? That's momentum. There is nothing more important than energy and momentum, and they match together in who you are. But you have to train yourself to do this because we all have a challenge. You know what it is? Every one of us has a 2 million-year-old brain. And this brain inside here was not designed to make you happy. It was designed to make you survive. And so survival is what you get. Why? This brain of ours, if you don't run it, if you don't take charge of it, the survival brain that used to make sure that a saber-toothed tiger didn't get you, and it trained you to always look for what's wrong, what could hurt you. And then you're ready so you can fight, or you can flight, or you can freeze and hope you don't get noticed. That part of your brain is always looking to fight, flight, or freeze. And that's the one that you have to deal with in your business. If you don't conquer that part of your brain, when I say conquer, it'll always mess with you a little bit, but conquer means it doesn't control you. Conquer means you shape it, that if it starts to take over, you realize it, and you change your state. You change your emotion, and I'm gonna show you how to do that today. So you're no longer gonna have to be like, I don't know what to do. You'll be able to make the shift. But this brain is looking for what's wrong. That's why you see so many people who even have succeeded. They have more money than God, they have a great family, they have great friends, they have great everything, and they go, I know I should be happy, but I don't know what's going on. It's because they haven't continued to grow. By the way, if you ask me right now, people ask me every day in my life, hey, you've met tens of millions of people, you've worked with some of the most successful people on earth. What does it take to be happy? One word, progress. Jot it down. Progress equals happiness. Progress equals happiness. It's not what you get that's gonna make you happy. As my friend Jim Rohn used to say, it's who you become, right? What you get's never gonna make you happy. Who you become is gonna make you very happy or very sad. And if we are constantly growing in this area, if we're making progress, like if you're overweight and you just start working out, and you don't even lose a lot of weight, but you just start to feel better energetically, you're gonna feel happy. You're gonna feel progress. If your relationship's not where you want it and you finally, instead of avoiding it, try to handle it and make some progress, it's still not perfect, progress will make you feel alive. We're made so we grow. Everything in the universe grows or it what? Dies. That includes a business, my friends. Businesses grow or they die. Opportunities grow or they die. And so if you're growing, even if you're not there, that's what's so cool about this business. You can do it part-time if you want to, and you can be making progress while you're still doing your job, so you're not taking too much risk. Or you can be one of those people, you know your personality. Some of you is like all in. I'm gonna burn the boats. That's how I'm gonna take the island. That's my personal approach, but it's not right for everybody, but you can do it any way you want. But if you're making progress, that's what you gotta look at. Am I making progress? Not have I gotten to the goal? Because watch this. How many of you have ever achieved a goal you worked your tail off for? And then you got there and your brain went, is this all there is? Who's ever had this experience? Raise your hand if you've ever had this experience. Come on, I see you around the world out there. If you don't raise your hand, you lie about other shit too. Come on. Of all that, it's a terrible moment, isn't it? Because it's like, I got what I wanted and like this all there is. And the reason that happens is either you were going after something that wasn't what you wanted. It's what you thought the world thought you should get. Or it's because you can't sit at the table of success too long or you get bored. It's because we're not made to just succeed. Think of this. Think of a time when you achieved something that you were not, is this all there is? Can you think of a goal or desire that you achieved, and when you achieved it, you're out of your mind like, yes, this is incredible. This is awesome. This is what I dreamed of, or even better than you dreamed of. Who's ever had an experience like that? So it's one of the best experiences, totally euphoric experience. How long did it last? 5 years of that feeling? A year? 6 months? 3 months? 3 weeks? 3 days? 1 day? 1 frickin' hour? How many of it lasted somewhere between 3 minutes and 3 weeks? Somewhere between those two max. Almost everybody in this room is raising their hand, and almost all of you on the screen. So I worked all this way so I could feel good for a few days or weeks? Yes. Because it's not about that. It's about progress. Everything in the universe grows or dies. But if you grow, if you make progress and you keep making progress, I'm here doing $6 billion a year because I started out with $1,000 trying to figure out how to make things work. I showed up for my first seminar. I bought all these ads. I'm from an era a long time ago with no internet. That's how old I am. I'm 60. So it's like, when I started out, it's like you had to buy all these ads and run all these brochures. It was expensive, and send all these mailers out. I rented the LA Hilton down in downtown Los Angeles. Big ballroom. I thought, I'm gonna get 500 people for this thing. And I charged nothing. I just wanted to give it away. 7 people showed up. True story. And they were spread out all over the room. I'm like, okay, come down to the front row here. And I went for 4 hours on these poor 7 humans like it was a full room, right? But I built my muscle doing that. Now I'm doing billions. It's like, if you keep making progress, you can't believe what you can get, but you're gonna overestimate what you're gonna do in a year, and you're gonna underestimate what you do in a decade. And most people will not stay in a business for a decade, and that's why most people fail. And by the way, somewhere, thank you for the yes, somewhere, hallelujah, man, somewhere, you're gonna arrive in 10 years somewhere. Why not be here at a higher level than you ever dreamed of in your life? Because I can tell you, with multiple years of focus and constantly making progress, there's nothing you can't achieve. Nothing. I don't care what it is. I remember I wrote my first book when I was 24. It's called Unlimited Power. And I was talking about you can achieve anything like this. And I thought, well, I should put like a reality check on it. So I said, if you're 5'1", you're not going to win the NBA, slam dunk competition. And while I was finishing the book, a guy named Spud Webb, who was 5'1", won the NBA dunking championship over these 7-footers. It was unbelievable, right? So it's amazing what we can do when we get momentum, what we can do when we change our belief structures, what we can do when we bring our energy up. Are you with me? So for you and I, if we're going to take it to the next level, then we got to just ask ourselves, what gets in the way? What really gets in the way of us? And if it's really as simple as learning how to manage my energy, create momentum, see and feel and own what I want, keep taking the action, keep making the progress so I feel so alive. By the way, when you make progress, you feel alive and you have something to give. You can't move somebody when you're not moved. You can't touch somebody if you're not touched by your product, your service, your company, your family. When I say your family, I mean your downline, the people you get to work with. I look at that as family. And if you aren't moved by that, how are you going to move somebody else? And we all go through phases. And phases are like, you can make it up. Everyone does it differently. Some people, it's 7-year phases. For 7 years, they finally figure out what they're going to do, and they kick ass. The people are successful, and they go, and they build it like crazy. And somewhere around 7 years, it's different for everybody. Sometimes it's 5, sometimes it's 10. They go, am I really still doing this shit? Do I really want to do this? Like, why am I doing this? And they question. Who's ever questioned a relationship you've been in for a long time or a career move that you've been in for a long time where you used to enjoy it and then you question it? Who's ever done this before? Most humans have. And then you know what happens? You either change course and do something new that makes you feel alive, or you recommit and see how incredible you have what it is, and you have another 7-year, 8-year, 10-year run. That's part of life. If you make progress, then you're going to have something to give. If you keep giving, you're going to build a brand. If you build a brand, I mean you personally, you're going to build a business. You build a business, you're going to have the economics, but you're also going to have the fulfillment that you really want. You think the economics are going to give you, right? It's not economics by itself. Otherwise, somebody like Anthony Bourdain would still be alive, or Kate Moss, who killed herself, one of the most successful women in the world, had all the money you could ever imagine. Or can you think of any great comedians that you love dearly who took their own life? Anybody think of one? Who's that? Yes, Robin Williams would be a perfect example. How many of you, watch this, how many of you loved, don't raise your hand if you liked Robin Williams, we've got people from all over the world. Raise your hand only if you loved Robin Williams. Raise your hand if you actually loved this guy. He just lit you up. Look around the room. As I look around the room and on the screens, like 98% of you loved him. There's only 2% assholes that hated Robin Williams, only 2% of them. And I'm like, I'm just kidding. I saw that, man. I'm just kidding. I got to meet Robin Williams. I got to know Robin Williams a little bit, just briefly. He made everybody in the world happy except whom? Himself. Write this down, please. Success without fulfillment is the ultimate failure. Success without fulfillment is the ultimate failure. This man was a beautiful man. Think how successful he was. He went to Hollywood and said, I want to become an actor. I want my own show. Who says that? Everybody. Who does it? Nobody. Almost nobody. Then he did that. He had his own show. Anybody remember what it was? It was around the world. Mork and Mindy. There's some old people here. Clearly, they know the name. I like that. I'm an old person. So bottom line is Mork and Mindy. Now, by the way, it became the #1 show in 10 countries around the world. Then he said, I don't just want the #1 show. I don't just want my own show. He goes, I want to have the most incredible family, and he did that. And then he said, I want to make more money than I could ever spend in 10 lifetimes, and he did that. Then he said, I want to make movies, and he did that. Then he said, I don't want to just make movies. I want to win an Academy Award for being best actor, not in a comedy. I want to do it in drama, which is not his skill. And did he do it? Yes, he won an Academy Award for drama. And then he hung himself in his own home. How do you explain that? Leaving his family, scarred for life to find his body hanging in his bedroom in a noose. Success without fulfillment is the ultimate failure. He's a good man. I did this TED Talk, which became one of the top 10 TED Talks in history, and it was pretty intense. And afterwards, this group of billionaires took me out to dinner, and they wanted to talk to me about politics and things. It happened to be my birthday. And all of a sudden, I'm in this beautiful restaurant talking to all these people. It's really a heady experience. And then all of a sudden, there's this sound, crash. Somebody jumps up on the dinner table in this very high-end restaurant and starts singing happy birthday to me as a Russian man, then as a Jewish woman, then as an Italian man, and it was this beautiful soul, Robin Williams. And he came over and hugged me and kissed me and said, "I'm your biggest fan," and disappeared. Now, I've never lost a single suicide. It's one of my number one skills. If you have not seen my work, you can go to Netflix, and there's a documentary there called Tony Robbins' I'm Not Your Guru. And in it, they show me in programs where I've never lost one. Knock on wood, doesn't mean I won't. But I know if someone's going to kill themselves, there's a reason. And the reason is they think life is more painful than dying. And if all you do is change that one belief, it changes the momentum of their whole life. That's why I've never lost one. I could have helped this man, but I had no idea what was going on. I want you to realize life is short. And I want you to realize that making everybody else happy is not the game. If you grow, you'll have something to give. It'll make you happy, it'll make other people happy. If you make continuous progress, there's no limit to what you can do. But it's not enough just to be successful, and it's not enough just to make money. You and I both know that. So just for a second, let's shake our body out and do what Robin would want. Let's create our body in a good state here just for a second. Stand up, shake your body out just for a second, shake it out. Shake the building with your body. 1, 2, 3, go. That's it. Make some noise while you're doing it. Face the person next to you and say, "I'm rocking this, baby." Give them a high five and grab a seat, or give a virtual high five if you're by yourself. Grab a seat, feeling strong. And when you sit back down, don't sit like you normally sit. Sit like you're in the command chair of your life. Create more energy sitting than when you were standing. Wake it up. Some noise! If you feel good, make a fist and say yes. Say yes. Say yes. Now, when you're in your chair now, don't let the energy drop. Train yourself to feel better and better. How many feel better right now than when we started here? Say I. Awesome. Now, so what could screw this up? If it's this simple, if all I got to learn to do is use my body and my mind, put myself in the right state, increase my energy, make sure I'm constantly focusing on progress, and there's lots of people who learn for how to make progress in this business. It's not like you have no role models. They're all around. You got access. So if that's it, what screws it up? Let me put it this way. How many of you, I was invited to speak at TED. I don't know, how many know what TED is? Yeah, they didn't used to have a website for about a decade and a half. It was a very small group of people, like 300. And they all met in Northern California, and it was a who's who group of people. It wasn't the general population. And they bring in all the smartest experts in different parts of the world to speak for 20 minutes, basically 18 minutes, to give them a few days of total expansion of their minds. And who was there? The Google brothers, right? Steve Jobs, all these people were part of this, just a small group of 300. And Quincy Jones, who's a friend of mine, called me up one day and said, Tony, he said, you gotta come speak at TED. I never even heard of it. And I said, my schedule's so full. I mean, I just don't need more. He said, Tony, trust me. You know me, I wouldn't waste your time. They want you to come speak, come do it. You'll love it. You won't just love the speech, you'll love the people, you're gonna love the thing. So on Quincy's suggestion, I agree. I show up for the event, and the guy who now is the owner, he didn't create it, but he bought it. He didn't know where it really was. And I'm sitting there, and he goes, oh, the motivator has arrived. And I'm not a motivator. I know I've heard that language, and that's because people don't know what to say, because they see, I certainly know how to help people inspire themselves, and I believe energy is critical, but energy without strategy is like a chicken with a head cut off. I'm a strategist by my core. So he goes, the motivators arrived. And rather than trying to even correct him, and he had this rolled his eyes, and then I watched right before me, the speaker was this physicist talking about string theory, which is one of the most complex subjects in physics. And I didn't know it was 18 minutes. So my shortest talk is like 4 days. Like really, I do like 50-hour seminars. Like my excitement to be with you guys is because I know you all own your own businesses and I know you're gonna touch so many lives, but my challenge is I got like a little more than 3 hours, which sounds like a lot, but in my world, I don't do stuff that's less than 3 or 4 days, sometimes 7 days. So the guy goes, you got 18 minutes, and I said, what? He said, you got 18 minutes. Like, how am I gonna add value? You could inspire somebody in 18 minutes, but I wanna help them really change and build some skill or muscle or strategy. And so then I watch this poor woman up there, and people in the crowd arms are folded, rolling their eyes and going, this is bullshit. She's teaching string theory in 18 minutes. I mean, really, the crowd was not nice. So he goes to introduce me and he goes, so today we have the motivator, Tony Robbins. So maybe he can motivate you after that string theory talk, right? And so I get up there and they don't even clap. It's like 2-finger little claps here, a few people out there. Right? We got more in this room times 10 than I had in that room, right? Way the heck over there.
I say y'all having a good time out there.
So I walk out there to this dead audience and I say, good morning. I said, I'm Tony Robbins and I'm not a motivator, right? I said, but listen, I really want to thank you for letting me join you here. And I said, I was just informed I have 18 minutes. And by the way, the guy says to me, in 18 minutes, he goes, we cut off your microphone. Not 10 seconds later, he said, Bono, we cut off his song. We did it to President Clinton. We will sure do it to you. Like, wow, this is really a great place to come speak. And I tease him because we're good friends now. He didn't know. But the bottom line is, I thought, what am I doing? I said, good morning. Nothing. I said, I know you're out there. I can hear your heart's beating. Right? I got a couple giggles. So I thought, what am I going to do to get their attention? And the last thing he said to me is, oh, by the way, I've heard about the jumping thing you do. No jumping here. I said, it's not jumping. He goes, I don't want to hear it. Because it isn't jumping. It's learning to change your physical body. We call your physiology, which I'll explain in more depth in the next few minutes. But the bottom line is, I'm not supposed to have them jump. I got 18 minutes, supposed to add value, so I thought, I need to ask a question. So the question I asked them, I'm gonna ask all of you right now, all of you at home in this virtual room with us, as well as you in this live room. The question is, who here has ever failed to achieve a goal that was really important to you? Who's ever failed to achieve a goal that's really important to you? Now, I asked it then, and I got no hands. And I said, okay, if you want to keep lying, it's okay, but how many people, and finally, I get about 80% of people raise their hand. So how many of you, let me ask you, how many of you have failed to achieve a goal that was really important to you? Raise your hand and say, I. Okay, so why did you fail when you failed? What caused you to fail? What was the reason? Tell me. And that's what I asked them. I want you to tell me now. In this room here, you can yell it out to me. Those you can write on a piece of paper and put it on the screen, I can see it. Okay, not enough commitment. Too lazy. Didn't have the right technology. Procrastination. Not enough action. No belief. I see you on Skype 5 here. Thank you. Gave up too soon. Didn't have enough capital. Fear. Didn't know the right people. And so this is the actual list I'm throwing on the screen that they gave me. And it's very similar to any room that I'll ask. In a big room like this, I'll hear, I didn't have enough what? Time. That's why I failed. I didn't have enough energy. I didn't have enough money or capital. I didn't have the right technology. We didn't have the right education. We don't have the right research. People say, I've heard managers say I had the wrong people. I said, sir, I met your people. They said they had the wrong manager. And then in real time in this room, for sure, what actually happened is it was really dark. It was this theater type setup. And in the front row, I heard this voice say, I didn't have enough Supreme Court justices. And I looked down, it's Vice President Al Gore. And the crowd is, if you know American politics, they're Democrats, because it's Northern California, so everybody stands up and gives him a standing ovation. And if you don't know what I'm talking about from another country, years ago, George W. Bush and Al Gore were running for president, and it was back and forth, and it literally was so close that I had to go to the Supreme Court to make the decision. And Al Gore lost. And so the crowd's cheering for him when he says he didn't have enough Supreme Court justices. So when they stopped clapping, I said, Mr. Vice President, that's one way to describe why you failed to become president. But I would suggest it's an inaccurate one. And the crowd went, ooh. Yeah, just like you. And I said, easy for me to say, I didn't run for president. But I think you know it's true. Because here's the common denominator. All of you, including some of you in this room, told me things, the reason you failed was something was missing. A resource was missing. Are you following me? Resource. Time's a resource. Money's a resource. People's a resource. Products or services are a resource. How many follow what I'm talking about here? Supreme Court justices are a resource. And I said, listen, all of you who are in this room, and I'm sure all of you know at home, if you really trust your heart, your soul knows that resources are never the problem. If you look at the most successful people on earth, they didn't have the resource, they didn't have the money, they didn't have the capital, they didn't have the background. They got it because they were resourceful. Write this down. It's never a resource problem. It's always a resourcefulness problem. If you're resourceful enough, I don't care if you have no money, if you're resourceful enough, if you're what is the ultimate resource that everyone in this room has if you're hungry? Hungry meaning have some form of drive that you've awakened in yourself. The number one resource in humanity is human emotion. If you master human emotion, there's nothing on earth you can't create or do. Human emotion is what starts wars. Human emotion is what creates peace. Human emotion is what gets you laid. Now I got that man's attention. Good, I'm glad to see that, sir. Human emotion is what gets you married. Human emotion is where children come from. Human emotion is the basis of everything with human progress, or lack thereof if people pull back, if they have unresourceful emotions. So think about it. Creativity is a resource. If you're creative enough, can you find the answer? Yes or no, guys? Yes or no? Yes or no? Of course you can. If you're committed enough, can you find the answer? If you're determined enough, if you're flexible enough, if you're connected, if you care for people, can you get them to care for you? Of course you can. The ultimate resource, whenever I hear people, oh, I couldn't do it because, they give me a reason, and the reason always a resource so it's missing, and it's not true. And I said, Mr. Vice President, with all respect, none disrespect at all, I watched you do the debate with George W. Bush, and I wanted to vote for you, and you couldn't. You came across arrogant, you came up with low energy, and the crowd started clapping real lightly while I'm talking, right? And his face started going like this. I said, but last night, the night before, he made a movie some of you may have seen called The Inconvenient Truth about the environment. And it was the first time he gave that speech was at TED the night before. And Al Gore was passionate, which I'd never seen before. And I said, last night, even if we disagreed with you, I said, how many of you in this room were moved by him last night? Everybody raised their hand. I said, if you brought that guy to the debate, you wouldn't need Supreme Court justices. And the whole crowd stood up and just thunderous applause. And he came over and kind of high-fived me, gave me a little hug, right? See, because it's not resources, it's resourcefulness. That's the thing that everyone in this virtual room in 150 countries right now, every one of you has. You have the resource of human emotion. You just have to train it. Because some of you, you're just not doing things because you don't want to feel rejected. There is no rejection. You can only reject yourself. People either say no or I'm not interested, and that means you haven't got the value across to them. Or it's not the right time. Or you need a different way of communicating, but it's not something personal. And if you take it personal, you're being unresourceful. And by the way, the whole audience stand, high five, the whole thing there. So let me give you a business example now, because all of you are in business now. Sam Walton started this little company called Walmart. Before Amazon came along, and even with Amazon, it's right there neck and neck as the most dominant retailer on the face of the earth. But here's what you have to know for those of you that are starting out. In 1974, Walmart had 78 stores, just 78. Over there was Sears at 851 and a place called Kmart, 1,326. 2,000 stores between Sears and Kmart, 2,100, 2,200 versus 78. And the market value of Walmart was 65 times smaller than these. Now, if you go back and read the Wall Street Journal or Barron's or financial newspapers from back then in the summer of that year, you'll see they all said, sell Walmart. Why did they say sell Walmart? Because they said Sam Walton is out of resources. He doesn't have any more money, capital, plus he built these stores in the South. People in the North don't want shitty little stores like this. They want real nice places. That was the belief. And everybody said sell. But you know what they didn't understand? They didn't understand how resourceful he was. What they didn't understand is, oh my God, this man has the ability to get his clients, meaning his internal clients, his employees, so excited. They get up at 3 in the morning and they drive 2 hours to another state across the line, buy all these products at the lowest price possible, drive across the state lines, get home at the building, stock the shelves, and by 10 a.m. open up with the lowest prices in town. That wasn't money, that wasn't travel, that wasn't networks, that was purely resourcefulness. And guess what? What happened to little Walmart, that little company? Well, think about this. Where's Sears today? Bankrupt. Where's Kmart? Bankrupt. Who's standing tall? Walmart has 11,000 stores around the world. They're doing $500 billion. 476 billion is $500 billion in business. Now, you can't live on that, but it's a good start. Right? Check this out. If you had realized this man is resourceful and you'd bet on Sam Walton and not listen to everybody else, and you invested $1,000 one time, not another dime, it's worth $25 million today. $1,000 with $25 million because one man was resourceful. So I want you to get, and by the way, that's called progress, 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 progress till you get to that number. It didn't look very good at times, but he stayed resourceful. How many follow here? So the most important gift for your business is the same important gift for your relationship, for your kids, and for your life. It's be resourceful. It's another way of saying you got to put yourself in a peak state continuously. If you do it enough, it'll be the way you live. It doesn't mean you're hyped out every moment. It just means that's the core of you, that sense of certainty, that sense of excitement, that sense I'm here to deliver. If you do that enough, it's like a muscle. If you don't use a muscle, if you don't use it, you lose it. If I want to build this bicep, how do I do it? You work it. If you take a weight that you can do 100 curls with, you get no muscle. You just keep the muscle you have, because if you don't use it, you lose it. But if I can take a weight I can barely do 10 curls with, barely, which one of those 10 curls gives you the most growth in the muscle? Which one? Which one? Number 13. Because if you're doing 10, see, if you hire a good trainer, what's the purpose of the trainer? Their job is to push you beyond what you do on your own. And you go, oh, I can't even do one more. They go, 5 more, I can't even do one. And sure enough, you do 3 more, and the third one gives you more growth than all the 12 before that. How many know what I'm talking about here? Say I. So you build these muscles by doing it, not waiting till you feel like it, but you'll feel like it if you put your body in that state first, like we've been showing you. Is this making sense? So let's do this. Stand up if you would. Shake your body out. Put your notebook down. Shake it out, shake it out, shake it out. Let's do a little test. Here's what I'm really saying to all of you. If you want to be successful in business or in life, the most important thing is to understand the skill of influence. What makes somebody a leader is they're a person of influence, right? Your ability to influence the thoughts, the feelings, the emotions, and the actions of another human being makes you a leader. Now, some people call that selling. I call it leadership. It's the same skill. But selling has a misconnotation for many people. What it really is that you believe in something and you learn how to influence people for their greater good. In business, they call that, being someone's fiduciary. In finance, it's a big word. It means you put their needs ahead of yours. If your clients feel you're truly there for them, not just your commission, you're going to change your business completely. So shake your body out, and let's just remember this. To influence another human being, which is your job. How many buy that leadership is about influence? How many buy that theory, okay? So to influence another human being, you have to know what already influences them. I'm gonna say that again. To influence effectively another human being, you gotta know what already influences them. Now, some people are influenced by their children, their family. Some people are influenced by their desire to be famous. Some people are influenced by their desire to serve God. If you try to influence people the same way, you're gonna fail. You have to know what influences them, which makes life much more interesting than just saying the same shit over and over again. It's like getting to know somebody, getting to hear what they need and want. That's what's gonna make you a great leader. Both the people you're bringing into your business or your clients, but also once they're in the business. The more you understand about them, you're gonna know what's gonna move them or not move them. You've gotta become a practical psychologist. Not a proctologist, a practical psychologist, just to be clear. Meaning you don't need to learn all their past, you gotta know what really drives them right now, and you gotta start with who? Who do we gotta influence first if we're gonna be effective? Ourselves, right? So, there are two things that influence us most. I'm gonna throw them on the screen here just for a second for you while you stay standing, shake your body out. Two things influence us most. Number one, moment to moment, what influences you is the state you're in. The mental, emotional state, moment to moment. Who here has ever snapped at somebody and got really mad and overreacted, and it wasn't even about them? You were just in a lousy state and you felt bad about it. Who's ever done this? Yes. Okay. Yeah. Okay, we're not gonna talk about that one. Okay. She's losing it over here. How many have ever been snapped at unfairly? Okay, good. Now we got all of them. So the point is, the state we're in affects everything. It's not an excuse because we can change our state. Moment to moment, somebody could say no one moment and get in a different state and say yes. Who's ever had somebody say no to you and then, or better yet, who's ever been to like at a funeral or some horrible place and you're feeling sad and then somebody says something about the deceased or tells a story and you don't want to laugh, but you remember a moment? Who's ever like not wanted to laugh and you felt yourself laughing? Knows what I'm talking about here. You went from depressed to laughing how fast? Because your state changed. So I'm going to show you how to do that consciously, not hoping it shows up. Second, long-term what influences people is their blueprint. Another word for blueprint is their model of the world. Like some people think life is about growing and giving. Some people think life is about getting. Some people think life is about looking good, right? Whatever your model of the world is, whatever your beliefs and values are, that's all we're talking about. We all have a set of beliefs and values that control the way we think and feel. And sometimes our model of the world's outdated, but we keep using it and it's frustrating. So I go in depth in this in more deep seminars, but we'll touch on this right here today as well. But I want to start with what influences you. I'm going to do it with a test. So shake out your body wherever you are in the world. Stand up. If you're sitting, please stand up. You want to use your whole body for this. You at home, I'm seeing some of you still in your chairs. Come on, pop out of your chair. Come on there, you got it, team. And here's what I want you to do. I want you to take your hands out like this. And when I say now, I want you to bring your hands together like this, okay? When I say now. Ready? Now. Ready? Now. Ready? Now. Ready? Now. Now, no matter how many times you pull your hands apart, keep them together, and put them back together, you'll notice something. If I hadn't mentioned it, you wouldn't have noticed. One thumb is on top of the other. Notice which one it is, your left or your right, okay? Let go. Here we go. Ready? Go. Ready? Go. Ready? Change thumbs. Go. Some of you got a weird look at this one. Raise your hand if it feels a little weird to change thumbs, okay? Now, if changing thumbs feels weird, imagine changing your life. Okay, now watch, let's do it again. Ready, go. And just go back to your normal way. Ready, go. Look at you guys smiling. I'm good at this. I know how to do it the normal way. Ready, go. Now keep your hands together. Extensive research over 40 years around the world in 100 countries that I've done this has taught me something. Which thumb is on top tells me a huge part of your driving force, your belief systems, your blueprint. If your left thumb is on top of your right thumb, it means the driving force in your psychology is a desire for sex and you're a great lover. I saw you change thumbs, sir. I saw you. I saw you change thumbs. Good try, good try. Now for the rest of you, if it's not your left thumb, but if it's your right thumb on top, if your right thumb's on top, then the driving force in your psychology is intelligence, and you will be absolutely financially free in your lifetime, ladies and gentlemen. Look at this poor bastard here. He's having a thumb fight. Do I want the sex or the money? The sex or the money? Good try, sir. However, if your thumbs don't cross, if they just stay parallel like this, it means you think you're sexy, smart, and rich, but you're none of the three and you never will be. I'm so sorry. Make it up.
Now I'll take you by the hand you another drink. Drink it if you can. Can you spend a little time? Time is slipping away from us, so stay with me. I can make you glad you came.
Come on, make some noise, make some noise. Just want to change your state for a moment. Or a virtual high five. Once again, as you sit down, create more energy sitting than when you were standing. In your chair. Thank you guys now. Make some noise. Just make sure when you sit down, you still feel strong. Now, so we've covered a lot. Let's see if we can simplify it even more. How many of you want extraordinary results in your business and your life? How many want peak results? Say I. And write down, peak results come from being in a peak state. Peak results come from being in a peak state. Let me show you what I mean. Let's throw this little graphic up on the screen here. Now, if you want results of any sort that are new results, a better result than the past, you only get new results if you take new what? Action. You're not going to get new results without new action or new behavior. We all know that, right? So what human beings can produce, the results people can make, like I said earlier, is amazing. What they will do is sometimes disappointing. But the difference is not what they're capable of. It's like what you do is based on the what you're in, my friends, the what? The state. Does that make sense? If you're in a pissed off state, you're not going to behave the same as if you're feeling grateful. If you're feeling worried, it's very different than if you're feeling excited. You have the ability to behave the same way, but you won't. Your state is the controlling factor in your performance. So whether I'm working with the greatest NBA basketball players, or if I'm working with a great fighter like Conor McGregor, or I'm working with a multi-billionaire who's now kind of lost their momentum, all those cases, I know what the problem is. It's their state. And what we got to do is change it. And I want you to know there's a million ways to change your state, but for today's purposes, I'm giving you two primary ones. Number one way is a radical change in the way you use your physical body. How many of you, when you jump, move, use your voice intensely, how many felt much better immediately? If you did, say I. Guess what? That happens for everyone. They go, well, if you do this, you go, oh, this is bullshit, it's not working for me. If you do one thing with your body and another thing with your head, they cancel out. But so it's both what you do with your physiology and what you do with your focus. Focus and your language, they go together. So whatever you focus on, you're gonna feel, even if it's not true. If you're supposed to meet your husband or your wife or your boyfriend or girlfriend at, let's say, 7 p.m. for dinner, and you're meeting them at a restaurant, and you get to the restaurant and it's 7 p.m. and they're not there, tell me what you're feeling. Anybody here, tell me what you're feeling. Pissed off? It's only 7. Worried? Okay, I've heard pissed off and worried. Okay, now by the way, it's the same event, Both people, the person didn't show up at 7. One's pissed off, one's worried. So it's not the event. It's what they've done inside their head. How many follow? Now, what if it's 7:30? You've been there since 7, and they've not called, they've not texted, they've not shown up. Now what are you feeling? Tell me. Really pissed off, okay. And I hear really worried over here. Some of you are really pissed. What if it's 8:30 p.m.? You've been there since 7. They've not called, they've not texted. Now what are you feeling? This woman says, full. I'm not waiting for the bastard any longer. See, whether you're pissed off or worried has nothing to do with the event. It has to do with your state, which has to do with what did you focus on and what is your physiology like. If you're like, oh, I can't believe they did this, and you tighten your body like this, and that's immediately going to change things, but it's also often starts with what you focused on. See, if you are really pissed off, you might be saying, they did it again. They're always doing this. They're always late. They're always showing up late. Or if they're an hour and a half late, you go, they're probably screwing around with somebody else. By the way, write this down. Focus equals feeling. Focus equals feeling. If you want to know how your brain works, I'm going to show you right now in the simplest terms. Bless you, sir. Focus equals feeling. Whatever you focus on, you are going to feel. Even if it's not true, it's going to feel true to you. Who here has ever had a situation where something happened and then somebody came and told you something like this? You think John, you think Mary's your friend. They're talking behind your back all the time. They're not your friend at all. And if John's your friend, Mary's your friend, you're going to go, no, John, they're my friend. No, you must be misunderstanding. But if 3 people come and tell you that, your brain might go, I can't believe John would say this about me. And maybe if you're really strong, you'll go confront John or Mary, and then you find out it's all bullshit. Somebody misinterpreted. Who's ever been totally wrong and you've been pissed off and you were dead wrong, you felt like an idiot? Who's ever done this before? Raise your hand. Everybody at home too. Come on, say I. We've all done it. And why did you feel so strongly? Because someone got you to change your focus. And when you change your focus, you're going to feel it. Who's ever been really worried about something? You thought, oh my God, it'll end my life. It'll be the most worst thing that could ever happen. And you worried and bent yourself sick, and it never happened. Who's done this before? Raise your hand, say I. Who's done this many times? Say I. Who feels a little silly? Say I. Some people, if there's nothing to worry about now, they worry about shit that hasn't even happened yet and get mad about it in advance. Because focus equals feeling. So the most powerful thing to take control of in your life is your state. But the way you take care of your state to get new behavior, new results, is you manage your focus and your physiology. 2 F's, focus and physiology. They're not actually F's, but it sounds good, doesn't it? Focus and physiology, right? So focus can be controlled very easily. What you focus on certainly affects you, but also how you focus on things also affects you, right? And you can change someone's focus so many different ways. You can do it just by asking a question. If I said to all of you at home right now and all of you in this room, this virtual room, if I said to you, how many of you could think of something in your life right now that you could feel proud of if you wanted to? Now, some people don't want to feel proud. They think that's ego. I'm not talking about ego pride. Ego pride is when you make shit up and you exaggerate. Real pride is you know you did it. In fact, real pride comes from doing hard shit, right? Making yourself do the hard stuff. That's when you feel proud. Whenever I hear people at school, like kids getting, they're trying to give them self-esteem classes. I said, what the hell's wrong with you? You can't teach self-esteem. Self-esteem is earned. You earn self-esteem with yourself. You can't have esteem for yourself unless you earn it. The way you earn it is by making yourself do difficult things. Who's with me on this? Say I. So the bottom line is, what you focus on is going to determine what you feel. So just let's start with, how many can think of something in your life or someone you love that you're really proud of or you could feel proud of? How many can think of a moment in your life you can feel proud of? Raise your hand if you can think of something like that. Anybody at home too? All of you, so I can see you. Thank you. Awesome. Just for a minute, think about that thing that makes you feel proud. What is it about that situation that would make you feel proud? I was one of the 10 Lords of Leaping in the first grade play. I was very proud. Little things can make you proud. I coached the President of the United States, Bill Clinton, when I was 32, and sitting with him in the White House and going, this is trippy. I was proud. Big things, little things. It's not the size. It's your appreciation that makes it proud. Some of us don't take the time to appreciate where we are, how we got here, how much we pushed ourselves, as well as the grace that maybe has guided us and given us some of these gifts. We've earned them, but we've also been alive at the best time in human history. With all its challenges, this is the best time in human history. We're getting blind people to see, technology that gives people new limbs, opportunities to learn anything in milliseconds from around the world. We're living the greatest human time to be possibly alive, and we didn't even earn it. Think about what you're proud of. How do you breathe when you feel proud? What's the look on your face if you're not hiding it and you feel proud? Like when little kids are proud, they always smile. Right? Adults try to hide it sometimes. When my kids tell me they love me, I feel proud. That's nice. Good, good. How many feel that feeling right now in your body? Right now, as you're thinking about it, as you're focusing on it, raise your hand if you feel proud right now in your body. I'm curious. Most of you, very good. Let's try a different one for a moment. What's something or someone you could feel grateful for if you wanted to? What's something in your life, a moment or a situation or a person? If you really wanted to, you could feel deeply grateful for that moment in your life, that meaning, that opportunity. How many can think of a moment or a person or a situation you could feel very grateful for? Raise your hand if you can do it right there at home, wherever you are. Let me see. Beautiful. How do you breathe when you feel super grateful, so appreciative? What's the look on your face when you feel so grateful for a beautiful moment like that? Birth of a child, moment you met the love of your life, moments when you broke through after having such a challenge, people you're grateful for. How does it feel when you're really grateful? What do you focus on most when you're grateful? How many feel that feeling of gratitude in your body right now? Yes. Why? Because you're focusing on it. See, if you don't take control of your focus, I can promise you the news will follow you in your pocket, and it is not looking to inspire you. The news is not looking to educate you. It's no longer looking to inform you. It used to be about informing you. Now it has only one purpose. It must startle you. If the news doesn't startle you, you don't pay attention. And they only get paid if they get your attention. We are not in an information economy. That died a decade ago. There's too much information. We're drowning in information. We're starving for wisdom. They all know if it bleeds, it leads. So if you're not careful, if you don't control of your own focus, you're going to feel like hell. Coronavirus. I'm not here to tell you what to do or not to do. Wherever you are, you should follow the rules, I'm sure, of what's there. But let's be honest. We thought it was 3% death rate. That's how we shut the whole world down. It's not even 1%. They didn't know how many people had it. You can't know the death rate. We don't know how many people have the virus. I just interviewed Nobel Prize winners. Dr. Michael Levitt from Stanford, heads of Cleveland Clinic, 12 doctors. And guess what all of them said? What you're watching on the news just isn't true. They keep telling the same story. They tell you about rates of infection, which is just tests. What matters is deaths, and they're through the floor. And the real number of deaths is 0.12. That's 1/10 of 1%. That's the same as the flu. And I don't know if you saw, the CDC came out and said 6% of all 180,000 deaths in the United States, 6% were just COVID. All the others had comorbidities. I mean, on the death certificate, they listed multiple heart attack, cancer, and COVID, because they tested for it. We're living in a place of fear. The real virus is fear. And we're going to get through this. We're going to get the other side of this. The question is, are you going to be damaged by it, or are you going to start living now? Are you going to start building now? Are you going to focus on what you're here to create and how much there is to be grateful for right now? Because you're not going to get any momentum listening to the news. And they're not bad people. They're in business, and they need your attention. That's how they get the advertising. And they know they got to shock you to get that to happen. So you got to take control of your own mind. Let's try another one. I want you to think of a moment in your life. Do you ever have something that made you happen that was so stupid, either you did or somebody else did something stupid, that you couldn't stop laughing, either at yourself or someone else? Do you ever laugh so hard shit came out your nose at inappropriate moments? Who knows what I'm talking about here? Who's ever laughed so hard you couldn't stop laughing? You were coughing, you were laughing so hard, right? Think of a moment right now when you just laughed out loud like crazy. Think of something so stupid, so silly, it made you laugh out loud. And then I want you to do this. I want you to point at somebody nearby and just fake laugh if you have to, but laugh uncontrollably. Go ahead, point around you. Laugh out loud, even if you gotta fake it.
Sometimes she's here, you can take a break. Hot air balloon, like a space. With the air, like I don't care, baby, by the way.
Laugh hard, go!
Clap along if you feel like a room without
Clapping!
Clap along if you feel like happiness is the truth. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you know what happiness is to you. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like that's what you want to do.
Make somebody just laugh uncontrollably, even if you gotta fake it. Ah!
Give me all you got, don't hold back. I should probably warn you, I'll be just fine. No offense to you, don't waste your time. Here's why. Because I'm feel like a room without a roof.
How many of you, when you fake laughed, it actually led to a real laugh? Raise your hand. Yes, that's called priming the pump. If you put yourself in the physiology, the state of laughing, even fake, and you keep doing it, real laughter becomes. And if you do it after a while, it won't be fake laughter. You'll wire yourself to laugh. Which would be better? To be pissed off all the time? Worried all the time? Crying your eyes out? Or laughing your ass off? Which would you prefer? Which one would keep you more resourceful to come up with better answers? The laughter. So we can train ourselves to be depressed. We can train ourselves to be angry. How many of you know somebody who's always pissed off about something? How many of somebody who's always worried about something? If there's nothing to worry about in their own life, they worry about people they don't even know. How many of you know someone who's not really funny, but they think they are? And they crack themselves up, and you find yourself laughing, don't you? Not because of what they said, because they're laughing their ass off, and you find yourself doing it too. So you can catch other people's states, which means you can also lead other people. If you go there first, you can take people where you want them to go. But you're not going to take them to a place you're not, emotionally. Let's do one more. Think of one of the most romantic or sexy moments of your life. I know you have so many. Pick just one. Pick one of those romantic, sexy moments in your life, and think of a moment that was really romantic or sexy or beautiful. How are you breathing in that moment? What was the look on your face in that sensual, sexy, romantic moment? You might want to close your eyes for this one. Think of a sexy moment, a romantic moment. If you've never had one, make one up. A sexy, romantic moment. How are you breathing at that moment? What does it feel like at that moment? And just for a second, make a sound that feels good to you while you're remembering this moment. Make any sound at all. Go for it. Come make a sound. Come on. Make a sound. Come on. That's make a sound. Make a sound. Make a sound.
Can do so much.
Make that sound a little louder. Make an enjoyable sound. How many were able to remember those moments a little bit, feel some of those moments? Some of you are like, I can be depressed in person, but not in ecstasy. Let's do one last one. Think of a moment in your life when you felt really excited about something. Can you think of a moment when you were really excited about something? Something that lit you up. Could be anything. Could be in your business, could be in your kids, could be in a relationship, your life. How do you breathe? Who can think of a moment when you were really excited? Really excited about something in your life. Raise your hand if you can think of a moment when you're really excited. Awesome. How do you breathe when you're really excited? Remember that moment. Focus on it. Feel that moment of excitement. What was the look on your face when you were excited? That's right. How are you breathing when you're really excited? Now, make the sound you make when you're excited. Make the sound you make. Stand up and use your body like when you're excited. Come on.
Let's live it up and
Come on.
do it. Let's do it.
Here we go. That's it. High five the people around you, say, I rock, and so do you. Or high five them virtually. Grab a seat, feeling strong. Now, so let's see what we've learned. Let's see what we've learned. Oh yes, in your chair, stay in your chair, but create even more energy in your chair, everybody, at home, everywhere. Come on! That's it! Nice job, Erica Marty! Sophia Poo! Paul Boone! Dennis T from Toronto! Where's my Singapore jazz line? Diamond Malaysia! USGS Texas! Yeah, Carla Moore! Yeah! Elaine, Jamondre, and Austin! That's it! That's it! Heck, even the card people are starting to move. I can see it now. Now, if you feel great, make a fist and say yes. Say yes. Say yes. Do you know the more you put yourself in a state like this physically, the more you wire yourself to go in that state. See, in order to have something last, so it's not a pump up, you know, Stanford did a study and they took one of my programs and they monitored. I wore a strap, I've done this about 9 times. It's a $65,000 device, and it monitors everything in your physiology. Jumps, force velocity, heart rate variability, everything. And they come and they take my blood during every break, see my lactic acid levels and so forth. And then they do it with the audience. And it's crazy because we just did it with a virtual audience and got the same result. People end up mirroring my physiology and then they feel the same feelings I feel. It's like, if you focus on the same things, you'll feel similar too. If you read someone's book and they wrote it, say an autobiography, let's say. The beautiful thing about reading autobiographies, when I was young and I had no role models and there was no web, I went to the library because we had no money. And I would read biographies. And what I learned was the most successful people on earth had really shitty backgrounds in most cases, as shitty or terrible as my own or worse. So it changed my perspective. But also as I read their words, I was thinking their thoughts. And I was feeling what they were feeling. And I was starting to take action similar to the people I was reading. How many follow this? This is what modeling is. If you want to succeed, you find someone who's already successful and you do what they do. You sow the same seeds, you get the same rewards. That this business gives you that easily to be done. Because this business is not that complex, let's be honest. What do you got to do? Use this stuff, feel the impact, do your homework, and share it. And then build a team and get to know who they are. You don't need to be perfect.